Hello and welcome to Business First here on Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. My name is Lynette Manzini. Business First is a program we bring you every Monday, Wednesday and Friday where we talk all things business. And this program is brought to you by Zimtrade. Zimtrade is rolling out an Eagle's Nest program that is youth-oriented, and today we are talking about the service sector and the future of exports. And I have with me Sharon Kasenya. Welcome to the program from Zimtrade.
Thank you, Lynette.
I have Munyaradzi Makosa from Farmhut.
Thank you very much.
I have Patience Ziramba.
Thank you for having me.
And I have Velile Due.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you are all welcome. So what I'm going to do, Sharon, I'm going to begin with you. Tell us a little bit about what you do at Zimtrade.
Okay, Zimtrade is the national trade promotion body. So basically our mandate is to promote the country's export growth. So we have been tasked to produce about 10% in terms of increases in export growth. So we have different services that we offer. Among them, we offer export development services, which includes things like training and capacity building of exporters, as well as potential exporters. Export promotion services, where we now facilitate exporters now to access international markets, as well as market information for general potential exporters and exporters alike to access regarding different ways of accessing these international markets.
Okay, let me rope you in, Velile. Tell us a bit about the Eagle's Nest. That's why we're here today.
Thank you. So the Eagle's Nest is Zimtrade's response to what the youth are contributing with regards to exports. Customarily, Zimtrade deals with what one would call the big companies, and there was a question thrown by the youths to say, how can we play our part? How can Zimtrade assist us to grow this cake, the export cake? And as such, Zimtrade thought of Eagle's Nest. Eagle's Nest being a youth mentorship program that aims at ensuring that the young people contribute towards the exports. It's basically a competition that is being run from youth, where about 200 applicants had applied initially and they got shortlisted, and we're keeping on shortlisting them now till we get to the final 10 whom Zimtrade is going to mentor, hopefully to eventually be able to export. So it's Zimtrade's inclusive agenda for the young people to be able to export.
So I'm glad that Patience and Munyaradzi are still in the game, since it's a competition. Let me come to you, Patience. Tell us a bit about your organization and what you produce.
Thank you. My name is Patience Ziramba. I'm the owner of Rainsember Publishing Professionals. So at Rainsember, we help individuals to self-publish their books because we saw that there was a gap in the market, such that as the youth, like we are talking about, it's not easy to actually just walk into any room and get what we want. The same happens to individuals who try to publish their stories. They've got authentic, relevant stories out there, but they can't roll them out into the public because the main multinational publishers are focusing on textbooks. So in order to help them produce and publish their books, that's where we come in to help them organize, structure, and project their information into coherent publications that they can sell to their clients.
What birthed the idea of this publishing company?
Okay,
Are you a writer yourself?
I'm a publishing professional. I have a BSc in publishing from the National University of Science and Technology. So I've actually worked in the publishing industry for a while. I worked in the NGO sector as a publishing coordinator. I even worked in the textbook publishing company. So I've been observing, watching each day prospective authors come in and out, while we would fail to actually publish them from the textbook publishing company because we would reject their manuscripts. Why? Because they wouldn't fit our list, which was mainly textbook publishing. So that's when I actually observed that huge gap and say, you know what, people are actually writing and they actually need help to get published. So why can I not be the one to actually fill in that gap?
Nice, you identified a gap and you're filling up that space. And Munyaradzi, tell us a bit about your organization. That's Farm Heart.
Yes, so my name is Mwonzora. I'm from Farmart. What we've basically done at Farmart is we've created a platform that is helping farmers and consumers to be able to transact. It's a two-way platform. Consumers are able to access farmers, farmers are also able to access consumers. So what we're basically trying to do with this is we are trying to do for farmers and consumers what Uber has done for taxi drivers and what Airbnb has done for us or house owners, or what Facebook has done for advertisers in terms of collaborating data and putting it in one place and then being able to leverage on that data and make decisions that will increase household income for both the farmers and the consumers. Okay. So that's what we are basically doing.
How have you been faring so far?
I'd love to say it's an interesting space. We love what we're doing. Challenges come through, but I think the good thing is we have a team of problem solvers that are always making sure that we solve the problems that are coming. And one thing that I can basically say is that it's a growing space. Agriculture is the future, and agri-tech basically will make sure that the future of agriculture is safe and more reliable.
Okay, tell us about the drone activities. I mean, you know, what you do with the drone and the pesticides.
Yeah, apparently when most people hear about Farmart, they think that that's the kind of tech that we are involved in. But at Farmart, we are more about leveraging data and using artificial intelligence to be able to make decisions. For example, let's say you, Lynette, are selling tomatoes and your farm is there out there in Bindura. And you probably don't know where to take those tomatoes. But probably your neighbor in Bindura also needs those tomatoes, but you're driving all the way to Mbare and you're putting them there in Mbare, and then the price that you get is very low. But your neighbor could have given you a higher price point. So what we do now is we're trying to make sure that every transaction in agriculture goes through us so that we can be able to record all this data. So that in the future, Lynette, when you do have tomatoes in Bindura, I can tell you, you know what, just drive 2 kilometers away from you, there's someone who has a higher price point who's just close to you. And all of this comes from the information that we're collecting and the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning to be able to predict all these decisions.
I understand that you have, you're also offering your services across the borders.
Yes, so basically what we discovered when we started is that probably the diaspora might be more interested in our product than it's actually people actually love it here in Zimbabwe. Obviously because of mobile penetration and use of internet connectivity. So when we started, there were so many people interested from South Africa. We've partnered with other startups from Nigeria, other startups from Ghana. We're also working with several other partners in Kenya to be able to provide farmers there with the product that we have developed and our software developers have created here in Zimbabwe. And it's also, we hope that in the future, the product will be used across the continent.
On that note, we'll take a short break. So in case you're just joining us, you are tuned into Business First here on Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. My name is Lynette Manzini. This program is brought to you by Zimtrade, where we are talking about the Eagle's Nest program that is being rolled out by Zimtrade, where they're trying to encourage the youths to tap into the export market. I am in the studio with Sharon from Zimtrade, with Munyaradzi from Farm Heart, and joining us live from via Zoom is Patience from Rain Semba Publishing and Velile from Zimtrade. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
I'll begin with you, Sharon. Give us an idea, paint a picture for us. What is the status of the service export market right now in Zimbabwe?
Okay, thank you, Lynette. Right now, when we talk of the services sector in general, before getting to the export of the services, it's accounting for about 67% of our GDP.
This is according to a report that was done by the WTO when they were looking into the trade policy review for our country. So that's 67% of the GDP. But then now when it comes to the export of services, we're looking at it contributing a little less than 10% of the total exports. So you can imagine just how much lies in terms of potential in us tapping into exporting services. And then obviously people would like to know what kind of services are being exported. So you've got things like transport services and your business management services. So that could entail your HR consultancy, as well as maybe IT services, but more on a smaller scale. Then the big one is tourism, which obviously also accounts for quite a large portion of our exports. So on the whole, that is pretty much where we stand in terms of the sector. But there definitely is a lot of potential now in the services that we have not yet started exporting. So you've got things like your IT and ICT services. Just looking at that alone, I think there's a big gap that entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, and generally local companies need to tap into. With the advent of COVID, I mean, everyone knows that we've gone contactless, or face-to-face interactions have virtually been either eliminated or just are now at a limit. So with IT services and your ICT services, there's a lot of potential. I was saying with the advent of COVID, we have face-to-face interactions being eliminated or limited. So companies or entrepreneurs now need to look into offering services that are IT-based, or let's digitalize the way we offer our services. So I know people know about call centers. I mean, what stops us from having call centers that are run in Zimbabwe offering the services abroad? We need to look into payment processing services, online tutoring. For example, education, yes, we know there's a teacher that can come from Zimbabwe going into another country to offer a service. But because of COVID, I'll focus more on COVID because this is the situation we are in now. Why not offer online tutoring services and the tuition fees come in as the remittances that come in as a result of exporting that service? So innovation is really something that is key in the IT and ICT services sector that companies really need to leverage on and really tap into.
You make it sound so easy. There are youths watching us right now and they're thinking, like people think that when you talk about export, you're talking about your tobacco, you're talking about your gold. It has nothing to do with what the youth are producing or selling or services they are offering. How does one go about exporting? Walk us through that process.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. So there are pretty much 4 types or modes of exporting a service. One would be the movement of natural persons. That is, the person themselves moves from Zimbabwe and offers their service. It could be someone in engineering, for example, or teaching service that you go and export the service, and that is considered an export offer service. So that one is common. But the most important one is setting up commercial presence abroad. So it could be a services company, let's say Farm Hut goes and opens a branch within this international market, whether it's in the region in Zambia, for example, or even as far as the UK. You set up a commercial presence there and offer your service from there. That is also considered as a way to export your service. And actually the most important and probably most effective way, because then when you have commercial presence there, then it's easy also to offer after-sales support and other important things that go along with the service. Then you've also got things such as consuming consumption from abroad. So this is where tourism gets into. You go to a country and you consume the service or you supply the service in the country where it is produced. So for example, if someone wants to come here wants to come and visit the Vic Falls, they are actually consuming a service in the form of tourism that we're offering them. So those are some of the ways within which businesses can look into innovating their services to fit these different modes. Yeah, and then you've also just got your cross-border transactions in terms of services. So it might sound complicated, but it's really easy once you now start innovating and looking into the international market and really making your service tailor-made for that market that you're targeting.
I think one way or the other, people are doing it, but it's just not formalized.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of informal trade in services that is going on. So at times then these are not recorded as exports. So there's definitely a need to come in and be formal in terms of your services.
Why should people, what are the benefits of being formal?
Well, first of all, the country gets foreign currency, much needed foreign currency. The government always talks about how we need to promote exports, and these are the benefits in terms of remittances that come through after you've provided a service in any given market.
Okay, Velile, if I can come to you, what could be done to see an increase in service exports? Because Sharon spoke about how low service exports contribute to total exports.
The actual figure is about 444 million for last 2019. Last year's figure is not yet really out. So to 400, yeah, roughly just under 10%. What can be done? I think number one, she's already spoken about the young people. I think as a country or as a government, we've got to be able to nurture the youth, especially within the tech space. That, in my view, is our lowest hanging fruit with regards to being able to export. They already possess the skill in them, and there is no processes in terms of raw materials and movement of goods from point A to point B. Everything can be done at the touch of a button. So that's a very low-hanging fruit that perhaps we could try and tap into, nurture. Let us be deliberate in about the steps we're taking to regards to exports. I think, like we said earlier on, exporting is taking place, but it's all haphazard. It's not formalized. It's not something that we could put our hand on and say, we have so much going out in as far as export of services is concerned. So I think we could also be deliberate in our steps and also realize that, believe in the fact that a service is exportable. I think it also starts with us. We don't really take it seriously. Sharon's already spoken about things like youth, or should I say services from teachers, be it industrialists going out formally to go and offer a service outside the country, and they become a billable sort of exchange between the governments. We don't take that literally. When we go out, we go as an individual. I go as Velile, I'm going to earn a living, and maybe the remittances are what government might benefit from when I send money back to my family. But what happens if I take my family with me? Then the country is lost out completely. So perhaps we need to be deliberate in our exports, whereas government will say we have so many teachers available for exports every year, and we have an agreement with certain governments to ship them out there for a period of time wherein a certain amount of their income, or be it agreed upon by governments, is remitted to our government. So we know we can tap into, say, our exports of services went out in this way. And then I also think one other one, my last point would be a collaboration among service providers. I think the young people, they like to work in silos. And as Sharon has already spoken about it, imagine a call center in Zimbabwe. I'm always really touched by this, the fact that call centers that attend to the United States and the UK have these Arab-speaking individuals whose English is not as refined as ours, but yet they get the contract to offer the call center service outside. It's Asian and Arabs. They get the contract to offer the service to the United States. Imagine if we could, as Zimbabwe, do that. So we collaborate as the youth. An example I always have is to say, as service providers, 3 of our major service, mobile service providers can't even collaborate on a substation. You will find there are 3 different substations in one location. Yet they could all agree and say, listen, we want to put up a substation. Can we all put money in? And then it has 3 different pillars going out or at the top. So one is catching for each of the networks. So I strongly encourage our young people to collaborate as service providers. Then we might see an increase in our export of services.
Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Thank you very much for that point. We've come to the end of the second segment. We'll take a short break. Welcome to the final segment of today's Business First. My name is Lynette Manzini. The program is brought to you by Zimtrade, where we're talking about the eagle's nest and in particular looking at the opportunities that the youth can tap into in regards to the export sector. I'm here in the studio with Sharon from Zimtrade, Munyarazi from Farmheart, Patience from Rainsember Publishing, and Velile from Zimtrade. I'm going to begin with you, Munyarazi. We've heard how easy it is to be part of this export market from Sharon, and we've heard what Velile said in the previous segment around collaboration, around nurturing. What challenges are you facing currently, with the line of work that you're doing?
I think for young entrepreneurs like myself, the barriers to export are endless, because first things first, we barely know what is exporting. What can we export? Who do we see when we want to export? Do we have to have certain documentations? Do we have to ask someone for permission and stuff like that? And I feel like the major problem that we have faced at Farmart is maybe for us it's a bit different, because our service is a service that is getting to agitate a certain pain point that other people are feeling. But the major problem is it's very common. Number one, there's the issue of funding. We basically do not have the money to be able to create the raw materials, in our case, which are maybe the softwares or the algorithms that we use. In other cases, it might obviously be the raw materials that you're exporting. We also don't have the right networks, if we were to say. Collaboration is key, as Velo was saying. We barely know someone who knows someone who is what I need. So that's also a very big barrier, and some might think of it as something that's very small, but I've been in conversations where I've been looking for this one thing, and I've seen that it's very difficult for me to get this, but I get into a room with someone and it happens. So I think that's also a major problem that we as youth are facing. And then the other thing is also we might need our government or our sector to be able to promote technology, especially in tertiary institutions, where we've got people who are doing their degrees for 4 years, 5 years. They need to make sure that they are promoting the technology that's actually trending at the moment, because you find out that we're going to be using textbooks that were written in 1990, yet Google is rolling out updates on a daily basis. So we're basically way out of the game before we even start.
And I think Patience is already doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to make sure that stuff is happening on the go and it's happening immediately. What we have done, for example, for our farmers, we noted that our farmers are actually getting information that's outdated. So I said, you know what, guys, let's sit down, let's innovate. We came up with a simple WhatsApp chatbot that a farmer can use on the go. It's updated on a daily basis. And that's the kind of stuff that we need as youths to be able to continuously develop tech that is competitive enough to be sold on the international market.
You spoke about the issue of collaborations, and you said sometimes it's difficult to find a person who has what you want. Is that really the case, or maybe youths are afraid that people might run away with the idea? Because I think I might, that could be a problem.
I think it's a little bit of both. When an idea is still new, you're very much scared to even talk about it. But it seems like I've talked about format. I'm not even scared anymore. So I think it's a stage. It's very normal for you to be very protective with your idea, but you don't want to be in that stage for too long. Otherwise, you kill your idea. So you'd rather protect it just for a few months, and then when you let it out, you're sure that you already know what you're doing. So I think it's also something that's happening. We cannot ignore that. I've been there. This has been a secret. I don't want to tell anyone, but now I'm all over telling people about it. So I think it's a stage that we all go through, and just make sure that it doesn't go on for too long.
Okay. And Patience, let's bring you in. What challenges are you facing as Rain Semba Publishing?
I think just like what Mwonzora is saying, we are still a bit behind. For instance, right now we're struggling to actually connect on a Zoom meeting. So while you're trying to export, especially like publishing services, it sounds easier, like Sharon was saying, because I normally interact with my prospective clients online via social media. We can begin as a chat, we email, but at some point they would need that meeting. And their way of actually meeting is a Zoom meeting. So we set up a Zoom meeting, say 2 p.m. When I'm trying to actually get on that meeting, I have a power cut, my internet is not working, you know, simple stuff like that. That's actually what's pulling us down. And then we also come to the payment systems, because most of the preferred payment systems actually don't work in Zimbabwe. For instance, Payoneer or PayPal. So they say, what's your PayPal account? I don't have one because I can't access it from Zimbabwe. So now what do? You say Western Union to them, sometimes they'll be like, okay, why do I have to use Western Union? So it's already by trying to come up with excuses, you come out as somebody who is not credible, who is not genuine, who is not authentic. So those are some of the challenges that we actually face. And maybe we can also talk about collaboration, like what Mwonzora was saying. You try to, because the only way we can actually collaborate is if we've got efficient and working systems. So without those ones, there's also no way that we can actually come together and then collaborate. So yeah, I think that's what we actually normally face from the services that we provide. There are easy services that we can easily take out of the border, but because of these nitty-gritties, it then becomes a challenge actually.
It's a good thing, you know about the PayPal services. You didn't say, no, what's that? Okay, so let me come to you, Sharon. Here are the challenges that have been brought on the table. For instance, the issue of payments. I mean, when you offer your services across the border, you want to make sure you're getting your money. Yeah. And also the person who's the person who's buying your service, it also understands the platform they're going to use to pay you. For instance, you can't even talk about EcoCash or Western Union, like she said. People don't want that. They want PayPal. What are you doing as Zimtrade to make this easier, especially for the youth that you're encouraging to join this sector?
Yeah, thank you for that, Lynette. Actually, one of the services that we do offer is lobbying to the government for such issues that exporters face. Because we do understand that there's so many things that are beyond their control that they need assistance with. So what we do is we take these issues to the government, and the government is very committed in dealing with all issues to do with that hamper the business environment or just make it difficult to do business. So we do lobby, and we've had the government really coming through and sorting out such issues. So even issues such as payment platforms being a problem, those are the things that we put forward so that at least for our services exports, we know that we can start getting them really going. So that is one of the things that we're dealing with. And then we've also got things, there's some things about collaboration, I think that both Mwonzora and Patience spoke about. I think that is really the reason why we have the Eagle's Nest program. These are some of the things that we're also trying to promote, that young people come together, collaborate on something and offer services one way or the other through really joining together and coming up with something that they can export. So we've got not just only the Eagle's Nest program, but a vast array of programs that we offer just to make sure that these challenges don't become challenges anymore, and then people export So yeah, we do quite a lot. And I would also encourage anyone that is experiencing any problems when they're exporting or they don't know how to export. I think Munya spoke about, what do you even do? Do you need to ask permission? So this is why we are there as the trade promotion body. People should come through and we will give them market information, the real basics. How do I export? This is what I do, and what do I need for me to be a successful exporter?
Would need another segment
Yeah.
for that. Munya, let me come to you. You are a contestant. You are also under mentorship with the Eagles Nest program. What has your experience been?
I'd love to say I've learned a lot. When I joined the program, I barely knew anything about exporting. But right now, when I do have conversations with farmers that we work with, and when I have conversations with my fellow friends from Ghana, Nigeria, we are optimistic about our service being exported, and pharma also being one of the novel services in terms of tech that we are going to start exporting coming from the Eagle Nest program. And we are really excited that we are part of the program, and I think patients can confirm that we've been benefiting a lot.
Okay. Munya is about to steal my show. He's now telling the next person to talk. But Patience, tell us, what has your experience been like with Eagles Nest? What have you learned?
First and foremost, the networking opportunity has been amazing. And just like what Munya is actually saying, when I applied, I knew I wanted to get in, but I actually didn't have the full perspective about exporting services. I had been probably doing it at a lesser extent, but I actually wasn't even looking at it as a way of actually exporting a service. So it's really been enriching. Even right now, being here on radio, I think it's something that we should actually be grateful for. So we've learned a lot. We've enjoyed every opportunity. We had video shots, even the opportunity to actually stand in front of a panel of grilling judges and pitching your idea. That was something else. And so from now, I was even laughing to Velile when I walked in here to say, you know what, back then, if I had been invited to actually come on radio and TV, I would have said no way, not me. But because of Zimtrade, we are actually here, we are talking, we are chatting, we are laughing, and I'm growing as an individual and it's Rainsember Publishing. So thank you.
That's very good. I wish you a success, and I hope you'll come up tops in the competition.
I can't afford to let you down.
Munyaradzi, I also wish you success, and I hope you come up tops in this competition.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Patience, Munyaradzi, and now we want to bring in Velile. Velile, what's next? There are people watching us today that want to be a part of this program. What's going on?
So, as has been alluded to earlier on, this was the first. And there are lots of learning curves to be learned, and we are improving as we go along. It will be an annual thing. Ultimately, this has now become an annual calendar event for Zimtrade, where every year we are trying to, I won't say pick the best, but to nurture a group of young people on their export journey. Granted, it's not going to happen. Patience and Nyaradzi, you're not going to get off this program when it ends in a few months, a month or two, and you start exporting immediately. No, it doesn't even work like farm huts. You guys deal with farmers where they have to plant, cultivate, water, and eventually there's germination and growth and eventually harvesting. So we are also doing that. We're hoping in the not so distant future, this first cohort will be ripe and ready for exports. And we keep it rolling every year, such that every year there's a group or a class of Eagles Nests graduates, for lack of a better word, that we are churning out into the mainstream export market. So it's
Velile, when is the next program? When is the next program? Unfortunately, we're running out of time. In July. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Patience, Velile, Sharon, and Munyarazi for joining me today.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you for having us.
That's all we had for you in today's program. I was in the studio. Sharon Kasenye is joining me here in the studio, and Munyarazi Makosa, and via Zoom, Patience Ziramba and Velile Dube. And we were talking about the service sector, especially focusing on the exports. So until next time, my name is Lynette Manzini. Goodbye.